Share this article. Tweet Kevin Duke, November 2, 2017. Photos by John Beck and BMW editor. Score 97.5%. Engine 2020. Suspension handling 1515. Transmission clutch 9.010. Brakes 1010. Instruments controls 9.55. Ergonomics comfort 9.010. Appearance equality 9.010. Desirability 1010. Value 6.010. Overall score 97.5100. If you're a fan of high-performance sport bikes, BMW's new hp4 race should be at or near the top of your must-ride list. This carbon-framed and wheeled ultra-sport bike achieves new levels of what's possible from a production superbike. Imagine about 200 horsepower in a bike weighing less than a Ninja 301. Downside, aside from its stratospheric price, is that the hp4's lucky and affluent owners won't be able to flaunt it at the local burger barn, as it lacks lights and other accoutrements that would enable it to be sold for street use. It's a trek-only special limited to just 750 units worldwide. BMW says about 10% of them will make their way to our shores. BMW hp4 race revealed in all its carbon fiber glory. 2018 BMW hp4 race priced at $78,000. Okay, now the price $78,000. To most of us, that's a lot of cash. To others, like Ducati Superleggera owners, it's a palatable number for an A-plus ultra sport bike with world superbike levels of componentry and a carbon fiber frame. Allow your eyes to linger over the hp4 race and they'll observe scads of luscious moto jewelry sprinkled throughout, with its clear-coated aluminum tank proudly on display. Check out the swing arm manufactured by GP's supplier Suter, the same component used in WSB competition. Its forward end is machined from billet aluminum and its rear section features captured spacers for kick wheel changes. Its retail price is supposedly about $17,000. Presumably BMW's purchase of 750 units got them a bulk discount. The references to the $80,000 Superleggera are analogous not only because it and the hp4 race are both equipped with carbon frames and wheels and are similarly priced, but also because several SL owners were on hand with their bikes at the Circuit of the Americas racetrack earlier this week, where we sampled the hp4 race. A few of them had already placed deposits on the new BMW. This is the playground for wealthy moto enthusiasts. 2013 BMW S1000RR hp4 review video. At first glance, the hp4 race appears as merely an S1000RR with a titanium Akrapovic exhaust system and a carbon race fairing slathered with sponsorship decals. A closer look, however, reveals a mother lode of top-spec componentry that can't be found anywhere else but a world superbike paddock, and some of them, like the carbon frame and wheels, not even allowed in WSB. Brothers from the same mother. The rational one is on the right, the wild child hp4 race is on the left. Let's start with the hp4's gorgeous carbon frame. The seamless unit is produced by a resin transfer molding process based on technology BMW uses in its carbon i8 supercar chassis. Its construction isn't via traditional layers of CF that are structurally compromised by how each layer is joined. Amazingly, BMW says its carbon drive CF process can build the frame in just 1 hour with all metal inserts and pivots already molded in. The race's wheels are fabricated by German subcontractor ThyssenKrupp using a similar process that braids the CF fibers into the wheel shape in a single piece. The one-piece carbon fiber frame is perhaps the coolest item on the hp4 race. It's said to weigh 17.2 pounds, which is nearly 9 pounds less than the S1000RR's aluminum frame. All this carbon, including the subframe made from traditional layered CF, along with titanium bolts and a lightweight lithium-ion battery, adds up to a claimed wet weight of 378 pounds with its aluminum tank filled with 4.6 gallons of fuel, which is a huge reduction from the S1000RR's curb weight claim of 459 pounds. And consider this: the minimum weight of a world superbike at the end of a race with its tank mostly empty is 370 pounds, which means the hp4 genuinely is lighter than a world super's race bike. For comparison's sake, Ducati says the Superleggera scales in at 364 pounds with its 4.5-gallon tank 75% full, which would translate into about 371 pounds filled. Overall, based on factory specs, the Duck is a lighter package, as it's equipped with street equipment while the BMW is not. FWIW, Ducati says the SL's dry weight is 339.5 pounds, compared to BMW's dry claim of 322 pounds. But keep in mind these weights are declarations from the manufacturers and might not be directly or accurately comparable. The hp4 ready to race. The weight loss was clearly evident as the HP4 race was rolled off its stand and put into my anxious hands for the first of my 2 sessions aboard this dream machine. I had earlier spun laps on a stock S1000RR to prepare for the HP4, and I had yet to gain solid confidence navigating the challenging 3.4-mile COTA circuit. My brain was in a heightened state of arousal as I considered whether the more powerful and lighter HP4 race would be easier or scarier to ride, and my breathing got shallower when we were warned that we really should anti-crash BMW's pricey wonder bike. It fires up with a growl from the EP non-compliant Acura exhaust after pressing the starter button on the HP4's bespoke race bike switchgear. The seat is placed 32.7 inches from the ground, but the subframe layout allows adjustability from 32.1 to 33.3 inches. A 2D digital instrument panel provides an array of info for the rider, including RPM, lap times, and traction control and engine brake torque settings. The ECU also has launch control, wheelie control and a pit speed limiter. Additionally, the system has a mechanic mode that shows logged data such as throttle position, suspension travel, brake pressure and lean angle info. Instrumentation is by 2D as used in World Superbike competition. The upper triple clamp is unique to the HP4 race and includes the bike's number out of the 750 to be produced. The transmission has revised internal gearing and its shifter can be oriented in either a street pattern or inverted race layout. Having a few sessions aboard an S1000RR earlier, I opted to retain the street pattern to avoid potential confusion. The bike is fitted with HP Shift Assist Pro that enables clutchless up and down shifts. Milled foot peg mounts offer a choice of 8 positions. The HP4's reduced weight makes itself evident in the run-through COTA's series of S-turns early in the lap, and the drastic increase in agility is largely by virtue of its carbon wheels. They lop off 1.7 pounds each from a forged aluminum wheel for a purported 30% weight reduction, let alone what the weight loss would be from a cast aluminum wheel. Combined with the bike's minimal mass, it has shockingly light turn-in response, with no apparent loss of stability. The efforts BMW made to reduce weight from the S1000RR are readily apparent in its adroit and immediate steering responses. As delivered for a ride, the HP4 race seemed perfectly set up for COTA's fabulous but newly bumpy track. It was a lot smoother when I tested Ducati's 1199R there in 2013. If you like to geek out on chassis geometry in the quest to slash tenths of seconds from your lap times, the race is adjustable for steering angle, swing arm pivot height and ride height from the Öhlins TTX36 GEP shock absorber, the same model fitted to the Duc SL. The HP4 is also delivered with 6 sprockets to hone in on perfect gearing for different tracks. After rounding the low-speed turn 11, nearly 0.7 mile of straightish pathway stretches out in front, an ideal testing ground for the HP4's uprated 4-cylinder motor. Inside, higher lift camshafts conspire with longer intake funnels to produce a claimed 215 horsepower at its 0.4-pound lighter crankshaft. Forged steel conrods are used to help handle the 14,500 revolutions per minute rev limit, up 300 from the RR, which is factory rated at 199 horsepower. Peak ponies arrive at 13,900 revolutions per minute, 400 revs higher than the RR. Maximum twist of 88.5 lb-ft is found at 10,000 revolutions per minute, this compared to the RR's 88.3 lb-ft at 10,500 revolutions per minute. For reference, BMW's WSB engines crank out around 225 horsepower, according to Joseph Meekler, BMW's product office strategy and product management responsible for BMW's 4- and 6-cylinder platforms. Ducati claims 215 horsepower in street trim from the Superlegger's 1285cc V-twin, or 220 with its race exhaust fitted. Trick bits are seen everywhere you look at the HP4 race, including its carbon frame and subframe and the adjustable quick shifter, foot pegs and swing arm pivot. Interestingly, the bikes we rode were fresh out of their crates, with no break-in miles on them. Unlike any production bike we can think of, BMW runs in the motor on a test bench and then thoroughly inspects it, adjusts its valves and swaps oil before the engines are installed in their frames, ready to reach its full potential on the racetrack right from delivery, according to BMW. So, I pinned the throttle and held on tight as the HP4 gathered speed with a voracity not far removed from a proper superbike. Shortly after clicking into 6th gear, the drop away from a small rise in the track surface caused the front end to lose contact at about $170. The HP4's power-to-weight ratio ain't no joke. I saw a breathtaking 180 miles per hour on the RR's speedo that day, and by the ferocious way the HP4 tore through the gears, I'm sure I was approaching turn 12 with about 190 miles per hour of energy needing to be dispersed for the 35 miles per hour turn ahead. Thankfully, the Brembo monoblock brakes are sublime in their effectiveness and usability. They offer a surprisingly soft initial bite, but there's scads of power that can be applied in an exceedingly linear fashion. Outback resides a remarkably compact 4-piston Brembo caliper with T-pistons and a 220mm disc. Here's a front end you've never tried before unless you race in a World Championship Series. The 46mm Öhlins fork is its high-end FGR 300 unit with titanium nitride-coated sliders that is ubiquitous in WSB competition, fully adjustable, of course. Braking is ably handled by Brembo hp4 PR4 professional racing nickel-plated calipers filled with 4 nitride-coated pistons biting on 320mm rotors, 6.75mm thick to better resist heat degradation. You'll see these binders in WSB and sometimes in wet weather mode races. Upper top shelf kit. Next up is COTA's stadium section that presents tight turns and short straights that are an ideal testing ground for the HP4's traction control system. Designed to be uniquely audible to its rider, BMW says it's a better way to be informed about TC intervention than by trying to observe a TC lamp on the instrument panel. The TC can be switched among 15 levels. I initially went out with the EQ set to its intermediate ride mode, in which the preset TC level actuated early and often. Its clearly audible stutter when intervening was reassuring to know when it was kicking in. After 2 laps I toggled on the fly to the dry one ride mode, which had a TC level of 7 programmed in and allowed more aggressive throttle application and harder drives out of corners. This being a race bike, 6 of TC on the HP4 is equal to the RR's 4 setting. Here's the teeniest 4-piston caliper we've ever seen, along with a truly gorgeous carbon fiber wheel. In my second session, I toggled the TC back to 3 and enjoyed the stellar grip offered by the Pirelli Diablo SC2 slick tires. I pushed harder to try to approach the limits of the HP4 race, but I came much closer to my own personal limits than those of the bike. The HP4 competently sucked up bumps that made the RR nervous, and it became a willing accomplice to shaving down lap times in my hands. Riding the ultra-capable HP4 race around the awesome COTA circuit was a thrill I won't soon forget. The underlying question is whether this HP4 is worth the $45,000 surcharge over an optioned-up S1000RR. To those with depth of pockets as shallow as my own, I can't make that case for the HP4 race. But to sport bike enthusiasts like the Ducati Superleggera owners who lined up for a spin on BMW's hottest ever production superbike, it might seem reasonably priced for what is a highly exclusive and unique piece of sport bike machinery. One last note: the HP4 race's engine has a 5,000-kilometer limit before it needs to be exchanged for a new motor at a cost of €17,000. But while this is an onerous feat, one needs to consider how long it will take to rack up those 3,100 miles of track use. To those who can afford $78,000 for the bike, perhaps the charge for an engine change won't fully drain their bank account. BMW HP4 Race High's the most capable sport bike I've ever ridden. Upper crust componentry, carbon framed exclusivity, size major league price, costly engine change is no ride house to bike night.